Dayvault's located here in Cabarrus County, where more than 70 years in the business lends to an incredible experience for every customer, every time. Whether you're looking for the toughness of an F-150, the spirit of a Bronco, or the versatility of an Explorer, you'll find it all at Hilbish Ford, your truck destination. Come experience the Hilbish difference in Kannapolis, just a 10-minute drive from Charlotte Motor Speedway, or get started online at hilbishford.com.
All right, boys, here we are, the first time ever sitting in the Dayvault's Dyno Cafe, or the K-Town Canteen.
Dayvault's Dyno Diner.
The Dayvault's Dyno Diner.
Triple D.
I like that.
Guys show up.
I like that. And it's great to have a bunch of friends here to fellowship and tell some stories. But, unfortunately, it's a tough subject. 25 years ago today, February 18th, 2001, that we lost someone dear to all of us. And we've all got unique stories and unique things that tie us together or to him. And we're just here to kind of remember Dale and just tell some stories and honor his legacy. And obviously we got Ryan and Dr. Dave here, but Steve Gant, appreciate you for coming back to the show.
I appreciate you asking me.
And David Steele, and I love your shirt.
Thank you so much.
You're good.
Damn, I'm good.
Seems like I've seen that shirt before.
I don't know, a time or two, maybe. I don't know.
But I don't know. We want to go around the table, or Ryan, I'll let you say a few words. But I'm anxious to dig in and just really honor Dale and tell some good stories.
Well, if you grew up in Kannapolis, you got to know some stuff about Dale that the general public don't know.
Yes.
And it's we miss every day. I miss
every
him.
day.
Every time I turn the television on, there's something about NASCAR. I miss him. But as we talk, I know it's going to trigger thoughts. It's going to trigger some stuff that we've all shared and experienced. I mean, Dale used to come uptown at the Idiot Circle, we called it. He'd show up every now and then up there.
56 Chevrolet.
Yes, sir.
9/11 is a lot like Dale's death. Everybody can tell you
where they were.
Without a doubt.
Well, and you look at 2001, that was the first race that Fox was being the broadcaster. I mean, that was a big thing, and they did a nice tribute to him after I'm going to call it the Bud Shootout, or the Twins the other day, Twin 125s. Used to be Gatorade 125s.
They're 150 now, by the
now
way.
150. I know, it's ridiculous. All those little changes, it's ridiculous. But they did a great job doing a little tribute to him. But 2001, that was a big year for this country because of what happened in September. But then Dale passed away kind of starting out the year, and that was just a bad year for a lot of people.
It was a bad year, and I think the 2011, the 9/11 attack helped me get over losing Dale, because all of a sudden it was a bigger event.
It was.
Yeah, for the nation.
And then the very first race back from 9/11, Dale Jr. won at Dover, and that was a big deal.
Oh yeah,
big deal.
Yep.
Well, and you just think about where we all were, and David asked David about coming and doing this with us because he and I have been best friends since middle school, and
hadn't got rid of him yet.
And he was a big Earnhardt fan, just like I was, and he's got personal stories about Dale and being in Kannapolis and growing up here. But we were in high school when this happened, and we had just started high school. Quite honestly,
we talked about knowing where you were. We went to church at Midway United Methodist, and we had youth group that night, and I got shuffled off to go to youth before the end of the race, so I didn't know really what happened until Mom came to pick me up and told me that Dale was in a crash, and then by the time we got home, we found out that he had passed away.
Wow.
So,
I mean, it's a big deal.
It was.
And you're going back to when the town people, Steve being the one that led the effort in 1993 to honor Dale and his accomplishments for his upcoming 6th championship at the time. You were a part of that thing, and actually you brought a picture today to prove it.
Prove that I was there.
Prove you were there. It's a really cool picture.
So the funny story about that, so they did Dale Earnhardt Appreciation Day in '93. And Kannapolis City Schools did like reading and writing competitions. They had like a K through 3 group and a 4 through 6 and stuff like that. And I won the reading competition for the K through 3 group.
course you did.
Of course I did. Read 365 books in a month.
In a month?
And I'm taking mine, I was in second grade, so I wasn't reading Ulysses or anything like that, the thin books, but they counted.
Now I know why you went to Carolina and worked for Duke.
Watch it now. Watch it now.
That's a compliment.
Yeah, see?
Okay. Yeah. Well, I take Carolina grads to work for Duke.
There you go.
You beat me to it.
You got to drink some drama.
Can I take a little bit of that? But the funny thing is, so I went to ACOC, which is no longer here.
Post
where
office.
the post office is now.
That's where Dale went to school.
Yep.
Sure did.
And so our colors were purple and teal. And knowing that we were going to be doing this later in the day, Mom sent me with a backup shirt. She put me in the teal one to go to school, but she packed the purple one. That way when she got the case, second graders usually spill something on themselves at lunch. And sure enough, I did.
Chocolate milk.
Yep. And so when we got uptown, they were holding all of us in the bank vault there at Old Cabarrus Trust and Bank, and she saw I had stain of something on my shirt, and so she swapped that teal shirt out real quick for a purple one. And so when they were doing competitions, they called my name first since I was the winner, and went up, and sure enough, Dale was in a purple shirt and I was in a purple shirt. We both had black pants on, so that's one of those nice little,
Nice little
touches.
nuances.
That's a great memory.
Yeah,
That is cool.
That is
It
really
was
cool.
great.
Yeah, I remember, and of course I saw it on, Steve and I were talking about this earlier today about that video, because there's an awesome video of that whole day, and I want to get a copy of that thing. It's in good quality.
It's out there, and I do have a copy of it, and I'll find out where it's at, and I'll make sure you get a copy.
That would be great, because that'd be something I'd like to have playing in here for certain events and
Is it on
stuff. So.
VHS?
Oh, it's got to be.
That's what I have it on, but it's not.
The master copy is on the 1 inch. Remember the big old 1 inch boat anchor?
Yeah.
It's on that.
Wow.
And, if we can find somebody to dub it, it's available somewhere. But I do
that
have
was
it
great.
on tape. But I got a lot of commercials too.
But
that
there
they made for me.
was a lot of kids there that day, and just a lot of people, and that was a phenomenal day.
It's like everybody got out of school.
They did.
Yes.
Businesses closed.
Dale Brown brought the band.
They did. They sure
Yeah,
did.
right.
They
It
sure
was a
did.
big deal.
They sure did.
Brooks and Dunn came.
Yeah, Brooks and
And they
Dunn.
set up in front of the Swanee Theater and played Boots, Scoot, and Boogie.
Yeah, wow. They were just starting.
Yes.
Yeah.
They were hot, but they were just
Yes,
starting.
absolutely. So, Steve, what's your first memories of Dale? I know
I
you've got
remember Dale before he was
right, and that's what I meant.
man.
Like you go way back before Dale was Dale.
I was fortunate enough to grow up. I grew up in North Kannapolis, and my neighbor was Johnny Miller. He was a race car driver, and I thought that's the coolest thing in the world. I was 5, 6 years old, 7. And Johnny Miller had a son that was about 3 years older than me, and I got a brother about 3 years older than me, and they were the best friends. And I tagged along because that's what your little brother does. And Johnny would take his son and my brother to the racetrack every Friday, sometimes on Wednesdays, every Friday and Saturday night at the Charlotte Fairgrounds or wherever the race was. And we just toured. They didn't have haulers. He had a 55 Oldsmobile with a tow bar. and he would load us kids up in that 55 Oldsmobile, and we'd take off and go to the racetrack. And I got to know Ralph Earnhardt, and I was so impressed with Ralph Earnhardt. I thought Johnny Miller was my first hero, but I think Ralph Earnhardt was my first hero.
Was Johnny driving that 55 Chevrolet then? or-
He was. Bill Baggs at
Bill
one time
Baggs,
owned
yeah.
it. Number 3.
Speed
At
and
one time
Custom.
he had a Speed and Customs, right. At one time he drove a car number 3. At one time he drove a car number 5A. 3B one time. He had a B on the side
3B.
of it.
Wow.
But I was lucky to get involved in it at an early age and didn't have any clue as to what I was doing. I was just a kid going to the racetrack. Like I said, I probably never paid to get into a racetrack. I was always with somebody or had a reason to be there. But I got to know at Concord, at the old dirt track at Concord over 73, the real nice housing development now.
The Most
That was
Acres.
The Most Acres. That was the old Concord racetrack, Henry Furr. And I had a cousin that worked there. You guys that's as old as me might remember these names. Did you ever know a set of twins named Joyce and Joan Lefevers? That was my cousins. Joyce was an outlaw, and they're both beautiful girls. Joyce was.
That's why I didn't know.
Joyce was immense. But, she worked for Henry Furr at the time, and there again, that opened the doors for me to get in and do some things I wasn't supposed to be doing. But that's where I got to know Dale. Dale was just a kid like the rest of us. His daddy raced, and he wasn't Dale Earnhardt. He was Ralph's son. Mm-hmm. That's how we knew Dale. He never had a nickel in his pocket. He always bummed from us guys a dime. Booby Harrington took care of him a lot. He always borrowed money to buy a Coke or something. And then when he started racing, he raced at Concord. He raced against my brother. My brother raced at Concord, Mike Gant. And we thought Dale would never make it because we compared him to Ralph. Mm-hmm. If Ralph strapped into that race car and on the last lap, he'd go off into turn 1 and 2, and Ralph would run in second. You come back around to turn 4, Ralph's leading. And we compared Dale Earnhardt to Ralph Earnhardt, which probably then was unfair. Mm-hmm. And we always said, Dale will never make it. He'll never be what Ralph Earnhardt was. But boy, did he surprise
proved you wrong.
us all, absolutely.
Well, Dale,
so proud.
I was watching a little video earlier before we started this show, actually. It popped up on Instagram or Facebook, being today's the 25th anniversary. And it's different things with Dale. And Dale said, I guess the question was, do you think you're the best race car driver that's ever lived? And Dale said, no. I mean, he said, my dad was the best driver I ever thought that existed. And he named off Richard Petty. And, but my dad, hands down, Ralph Earnhardt was the best driver ever. And, of course, Dale was right there at it. But Dale was the best race car driver I have ever seen drive a race car. And I think
talent-wise, I don't think anybody compared to Dale.
No.
I might be prejudiced, I might be biased. Dale Earnhardt was good. He had control of the car. I was told at one time he could see air. That's a stretch, but...
Well, let's just say he could.
They said at Bristol one time, you go around Bristol at 116, 118, 120 miles an hour. He said he come around off the turn forward, said there's a 7/16 socket wrench up in the...
I've heard that story from Andy Petrie.
Yeah, that's probably where it came from. And sure enough, they went and checked, and sure enough, it was a 7/16 socket. He had good eyes, man.
How about that?
But there's a lot of things about Dale, little stories about Dale that a lot of people didn't know. Dale was hard to approach at the racetrack because when Dale went to the racetrack, it was all business.
Yeah, he was all business.
And he was focused. And he'd get on Junior all the time about not being focused because Junior liked to play. He wasn't focused a lot.
So 2 hours ago, Jeremy Mayfield posted on Facebook. I don't know if you saw this, but
I did.
He talks about 25 years ago. He said, we didn't just lose a driver, we lost the heart of NASCAR. And I think that really sums it up because that's exactly what happened. And to this day, that heart's never been replaced, in my opinion.
You're exactly right.
And
I feel the same way.
He goes on to say, for me, Dale Earnhardt and Richard Childress represented what this sport was meant to be: raw, gritty, tough, and unapologetic. Dale didn't need stage racing to make a move. He made the move because he was the Intimidator. He rattled cages, he took chances, and he built the very foundation that every driver today stands on. We lost a man who made us fall in love with the high banks, but in tragedy, he saved everyone who came after him. Because of what happened that day in 2001, we've had over 25 years of drivers walking away from wrecks that used to be unthinkable.
Sure.
And I think that was sort of mentioned the other day. I mean, his legacy truly has been the improvements of driver safety from that day forward. Nobody's lost their life because of it made everybody rethink what they were doing.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, but he was the heart of the race, and it's never been replaced, and I don't think it ever will be replaced, quite honestly. So,
and I think, especially like the community response that you saw after it happened. When you try to compare, maybe another driver to that, I don't think we would have seen a response like we did to anybody, even in his era, and especially now. The only person that comes to mind that might have garnered that may have been like Richard Petty.
Richard Petty, what a gentleman he is.
Right.
But just this past weekend, they made mention on television about 25 years ago when we lost Dale. Today, he's still number 3 in souvenir sales.
I know,
That's incredible.
That is incredible.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And Reese shirts are being reprinted just like that one. I mean, that was, You know, I mean, it's crazy to think about.
And no other driver has ever had that kind of clout to just walk into the NASCAR hauler and demand a change, because he was the voice of the drivers, he was the voice of the sport, he was the voice of everything, and that took a lot of clout.
It did.
Yeah.
It did.
I think one
A lot
thing
of
that
respect.
go ahead.
No, I'm saying a lot of clout, a lot of respect. It's
That's true.
when he had something to say, they listened.
Sure.
One thing that comes to my memory, and I can't remember who put it out or actually when, but they somebody recorded like behind the scenes with Dale of him at home, and I think for me, even though he's this superstar and the face of the sport, it showed him working on his farm.
Oh yeah.
And fishing in the pond in the backyard. And so you could tell that Kannapolis that he grew up with, it doesn't leave.
Never left.
It's still there. So
Yeah, and that determination, that resilience that we've talked about over and over, and we've referred it to him numerous times on the show through the years because it always comes up. But he's the epitome of that.
Yes.
State doesn't want to widen the road in front of DEI. He goes and widens it himself and pays for the concrete type deal. I mean, that's the kind of guy he was, and he wasn't going to take no for an answer. Just like Steve Ellsworth said a couple of weeks ago, he went to cut his hair over at the farm, over at the shop, and he told everybody in the shop they were all getting haircuts, whether they had just had their hair cut or not, and they all did. They got their hair cut. So he was in charge. It was his way, and again, he wasn't going to apologize for it because that just wasn't who he was. And I think back when I turned 6 years old and I got my Dale Earnhardt phone for my birthday that year, and because that's what I wanted for my birthday. I wanted a Dale Earnhardt phone, and my dad and my cousin had it set up that when we plugged it in, within minutes it rang, and it was him calling me and saying, and I never will forget. He said, "Hey boy, what you doing?" And I said, I'm talking to you right now. Like I knew exactly who it was, and he said, well, I heard you got one of my phones for your birthday or something like that. And I was like, yeah. And he said, well, I hope it works out, and happy birthday. Just wanted to be the first one to call you on it.
Wow.
I mean, that's something I'll never forget. I mean, you're talking about a 6-year-old kid getting a Dale Earnhardt phone.
Deer in the headlight.
And then Dale calls.
And Dale's calling. It's literally as soon as it's plugged up, the phone rings.
Yeah. Wow. It's funny he's talking about the DEI and Steve Ellsworth going over cutting guys' hair. I was listening to Dave Moody's talk show the other day, and he had Ty Norris, who obviously had become the president or vice president of DEI, and Dale's right-hand man for a long time for a lot of his business operations. And it's documented. Dale didn't finish school. He wasn't a highly educated man from the book sense, kind of like David. But Ty Norris said that Dale had a doctorate or a PhD in common sense. He's the smartest man he ever dealt with.
Absolutely. We went to do a commercial with him one time. This is way before he was had won championships, and some local business wanted to do a water bid commercial. So we was gonna go up and shoot it and film it and run it on our local TV stuff that we was doing. And Dale wasn't polished. We didn't have teleprompters. We just wrote out a script. And he tried to memorize it, and he struggled with it. We was snickering and laughing at him. Boy, he got mad. It took us an hour to shoot a 30-second commercial, and he finally run us all off. He said, "Get out, everybody out, everybody out." And he's sitting there with just the cameraman, and finally got through it. And in the background, Dale Jr. was about 7, 8 years old, 9 years old. And Dale Jr. was waxing on the car. This was in the deer headroom. Dale Jr. was waxing on the car because he wanted to be in the commercial. Dale Jr. was nobody yet, but he
was in the commercial.
That's his way of getting
What kid doesn't want to be in the commercial?
Well, exactly.
Be in Daddy's commercial.
That's right.
Junior mentioned this commercial on his podcast the other day, and I've got a copy of it.
I'd love to see
mentioned it
that,
to you, Ryan, and I'll dig it out and bring it to you, and see that you get a copy.
That'd be great.
Could you run it in on your podcast?
Yeah,
we could.
Yeah, absolutely
put it out.
Yeah.
Okay, that'd be great.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Because Dale Jr. just run across this thing 6 or 8 weeks ago.
We got an IT team here at second.
It's second to none.
That's what that works for me.
Talking about a crack IT team.
We did a lot of stuff. Dale Earnhardt Sr. never turned me down for anything I needed or wanted, as long as it was for the local community or for local viewers. If I say, Dale, I need this or need that, what you need? Come on. But we'd always do, before we did the Dale Earnhardt Appreciation Day downtown, we would do Dale Earnhardt Day at the golf course, Kannapolis Golf Course, but it wasn't open to the public. It was a private golf course. But the kids, it was open to the kids. And they would come over there and they'd bring a fire truck, and the kids would climb all over the fire truck and turn the siren on, blow the whistle. And word got out, Channel 3, Channel 9, the big stations got wind of it, and they started showing up. And when they started showing up, the crowds got wind of it, and it became a big event. Dale didn't like that. He didn't want that to happen. So one day, y'all remember Jeff Austin?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Jeff called me one day.
Chef over.
Yeah.
General manager.
Jeff called me one day and said, I just got a phone call from Dale Earnhardt. I said, okay. He said, he mentioned your name. I said, okay. He said he wants to do Dale Earnhardt Day again at the golf course, but he wants you and your crew to be the only TV station there. What an honor. I thought, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
He shut down 3 and 9 and the big stick stations and let us come do it. And we hit it off and
Y'all used to show that on.
we did.
Yeah.
We did.
I remember
And
that.
Every time I needed something, I'd go to Dale. And he told me one time, I said, Dale, why are you so hard to approach? Why is it so hard to get to you at the racetrack? And he'd get you in a headlock. If you knew Dale, he'd get you in a headlock and he'd squeeze you. And he'd say, 9 out of 10 people that approach me at the racetrack want something. They want to get in my billfold. They want to get in my checkbook. He said, that's not what I'm here for. He said, I'm here to race, and that's what I do.
Here to win
And
races.
he told me one time, he said, you bring your buddies around. He said, they're always wanting autographs. He said, I'll get you all the autographs you want, but don't bother me at the racetrack. I said, I get it. I get it.
Wow.
I took a couple of my buddies to Bristol one time. We were sitting on the guardrail. I don't know if it's practicing or qualifying or what. They wanted to beat Dale. They wanted to beat Dale. And I'd already been told, don't bring your buddies around. I'm busy.
Right.
And I said, if we see him, okay. If we don't, it's not that we didn't try. Well, all of a sudden, somebody walked up behind me and got me in a headlock and pulled me off the guardrail. It was Dale. These two guys, you thought
I
they
bet
were
they-
kids on Christmas Day.
They went nuts.
That was a big deal for them.
You was talking about that Dale Earnhardt Day at the golf course. I was looking for actually this shirt last night in a box of shirts I have, and I found the shirt that I got from one of those Dale Earnhardt days at the golf course where he had autographed it. I've never worn it, and I was thinking I need to frame it or something.
You should.
Just
You
fold
should.
it up, but it's one of the last. I mean, it was probably from 98, 99, something like
I've
that.
got the shirt, when he announced that he was becoming part of the Intimidators our baseball team. If I'm not mistaken, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't Cal Ripken a part of that? Wasn't he there that day?
I think so.
Cal, I don't know if he was there that day, but I worked with
I
him.
remember
Yeah, I
that.
think so.
He did
Dale-
come to town. I have a bat
That was
he
in
signed for
November
me.
of
Dale
2000.
signed shirts for us that day.
It was November of
The
2000 when that was
Intimidator
done.
shirts. And I still got mine. I never wore it because
about
you
that?
can't replace it.
No, no.
No, I worked for the team, and I got a bat that Cal Ripken signed for me on the Dale Earnhardt Day when they retired the number 3 jersey.
I got the.
I have
team.
I have the jersey and I have the bat.
I got a
That's
team
cool.
jersey.
And
for
it's
them.
really cool,
Yeah.
really cool
I
time.
think Mark Vineyard was the general manager then and
Yep.
did it to me.
Cool
It
deal.
was cool.
Well, Chuck, I think it's your time, Dr. Dave. Give us some thoughts, man.
Well,
You've been around
you
this
know,
town a long time.
Like you said, the day that the crash happened, we were at Ray and Renee Morris's. And, they used to have race parties every Sunday. And it was just a community event. And I mean, you'd go over there and there'd be 40, 50 people over at Ray and Renee's house.
Yep.
And it was just a good time had by all. But when that crash happened, not only did it change, I think it changed the way TV covers crashes. And everybody knew something was wrong
Yeah.
and bad the way it was happening. You just had this feeling that it wasn't good.
It wasn't.
And I just can't get over that feeling. And I can remember, like it was yesterday. And it's just, it took several hours before it finally.
It took-
really 12 or so, 12 hours. Or
It took several hours before Hilton made the public announcement.
Right.
But I think our community and some people knew it. If I'm not mistaken, I got a phone call and from Daytona that day. Not immediately.
Right, it was an hour
30
or
minutes
two
or so later. And boy, it just,
And
it's
you just
weakened.
knew, you just had that feeling
Yeah.
that
Right.
it wasn't the crash, the way everybody was being so delicate
Yeah.
with the coverage, and
Yeah.
you just never will forget it. That's just
We went, when that happened, never forget, we were over at my papa and mama's house watching the end of the race, and we went over there and was sitting there, and of course, and it happened, and as soon as it happened, I'm talking as soon as it happened, my dad said, something's not right.
Yes.
I mean, it wasn't, they didn't even show the car, other than it hitting, and my dad said, I got a bad feeling about this. I mean, it was immediately. And then probably 25, 30 minutes went by, and he called Martha's house, and I think Kathy answered. Kathy was there, and she said, we don't know anything yet. And then we called back just a little bit later, and that's when she said, we've lost him. And so we went down there, and me and him, my mom went down there and spent probably, an hour or so just sitting there with them, and never will forget it. I mean, we went into the kitchen, sat there, and just talked to. I mean, the house was full of family and people. It was, and then the news crews were trying to get into
If
the
I'm not
place.
mistaken, the
That
city
was
of
terrible.
Kannapolis sent, I think it was Andy Seckler.
Oh,
Sent
yeah.
him down there as a police officer to
Yeah,
work
hold
security,
people
to
back.
keep people back, and
The news crews, it was intense when we left that night. I mean, it was the amount of people that were trying to get in there, and but we went. We wanted to be there to support them as much as we could. I mean, it was so
it was
sad,
It was
so
terrible.
depressing.
And speaking of that moment, Darrell Waltrip was calling the race, and just within a matter of seconds, he was teary-eyed and said, "Gosh, I hope Dale's okay."
Hope Dale's okay.
And you'd never seen him with that reaction before,
No.
so you knew
He
then.
knew.
Yeah.
It's just something's not good.
Something not good.
Not good.
And then sad to see Ken Schrader after he poked his head in the car and like just frantically waving
Right.
for help. And then
Yes.
and when they interviewed him out after the medical center, I looked out and said, man, I knew then. You could just tell it
Yeah.
in his face. It was
I-
awful.
Yeah, I know Ken very well. He will not talk about that day. But on the brighter side, did you ever read the book In the Blink of an Eye? Mike Waltrip's
I
book?
did not. I did
Great
not.
read. You guys should read it. It's a good read. So it's that day. It's
How
the
about
events of that day. It's a good read. You should read it.
Wow.
It was, it was
but
Can
like
you-
Day that changed history.
25 years, and
Hard
it's
to
still,
believe.
you know,
Yeah,
and
it's
we're
still-
talking like it happened.
and I can't
last
tell you what I
Sunday.
had for supper last night.
Right.
I can tell you what happened 25 years ago.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, it's such an important day
It
for all
was-
of us,
it
and
was.
I remember not eating. it was rough. I mean, say a grown man crying. I mean, that was
I
a
did.
hard week.
I did. And
Very hard week.
And I had phone calls. People would come in. I think I was retired from Village Joy. I think I was retired from Vision Cable, Time Warner, and working at Village Joy with Mike Gibbs and Lou Fennell. And people would come in and knew that I knew Dale and knew that Dale was a friend. And they would just come in and just to see me.
Just wanted to
talk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
just
it
wanted to
seeks
be
you out.
close to
Yeah.
somebody
Right.
that understood what they were going through.
well, I mean, you think like Joe Farinello in Pennsylvania. I mean, that's his whole purpose of coming to Kannapolis every year is to be around and talk to people who
Be close.
with family, friends, business relationships, or
Yep.
or people that helped
Sure.
one way or the other. I mean, there's plenty of people like that loved him so much that they feel this is their way to connect.
Yes.
It was interesting because when I was looking to bring stuff, one of these other papers that the Independent Tribune put out afterwards actually hits on a great quote that your dad had in here.
Oh wow.
It was just families helping families.
Yes.
And that's what it was. Like you said, somebody just wants to be there and be with you and
Yep.
support you. So, but as soon as you said that, I was like,
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, the
That's
whole
exactly
world
right.
was sad.
It was.
But Kannapolis felt like it was a double whammy.
oh yeah,
Oh, yeah,
You know,
it's awful.
It was just
And
2 or 3 times as bad
And-
as the rest of the world
And-
because we were so close.
And it only got worse. You know, you
Yes.
think about how bad it was, and the gut punch of losing him, and then not 2 years later losing the mill, and you know that was a downward spiral for this town for a long time.
That's correct.
It's a shame.
Yeah.
But you know, it's like Mayfield said. I mean, we lost the heart of NASCAR, and that special that Fox did for "We Lost Dale Earnhardt"
Yeah.
was the name of it. I think that was perfect.
It was
name
well
for it.
done. I was disappointed they didn't interview other people. They interviewed Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch never raced with Dale. They interviewed Kurt Busch,
Right.
maybe one or two
Ron
times.
Blaney.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think when I walked in today, the guys were all getting a little bit older. There's one over here that's not. But we're all getting a little bit older. And the guys that knew Dale as a kid and raced bicycles with him and against
Yeah.
him, those guys were gone.
Getting gone.
Or not healthy. And,
Right.
you know, you remember the Collar Creek gang. Who was the guy that put the V8 motors in the Jaguars? Was it Gene Deese?
Yeah,
Gene
Gene Deese
Deese,
down
yeah.
Old Charlotte Road.
Yeah.
Gene, oh, yeah.
He's gone too.
He's gone, and all
My
the
dad
guys that
knew
knew that knew the
They
old
were-
Dale.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
That's the guys. You can't talk to them because they're not
No,
here. But
sure.
Humpy Wheeler would have been a good one. He's gone.
Yes.
But the guys that raced against him, they could have brought Darrell in. They could have. I don't know if Ned Jarrett's capable of bringing back some old times, but Dale Jarrett certainly would have been. I was disappointed. It was a well done piece, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. But I would have.
To me, like the
been more
Mike,
selective with my guests.
the Mike Helton piece, seeing
Mike,
his
that was
perspective was
impressed.
very,
He was
very
very-
impressed. I mean, what he said and how he doesn't even remember how he put together what he said that day because it was such a big deal for him.
Yeah.
He lost his friend. He lost, you know, this, just like what we're talking about. But that was huge. You know, to think
Yeah.
about you're the president of NASCAR. You just started in that role not too long before that, and then you had to be the one to deliver that news to the world. I mean, not just North Carolina or Florida.
Sure.
You had to deliver that to the world. And that'll forever be what people will remember
Yeah.
is his face on TV saying that.
That's true.
So,
Mike came to Concord one time and did a broadcast with us. He
about
sat in the
that?
booth with Woody and Randy and myself and did
That's
did
cool.
a play-by-play at the Concord racetrack.
Wow.
that is
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pretty cool. David, any more thoughts? Anything you want to add?
The one thing that pops in my head, and I know we're, you know, obviously this is a little bit of a somber conversation because
Sure.
of what we're remembering. Yeah, I'll never forget though when I asked this guy over here to be the best man for my wedding. He said, "Well, when are you getting married?" I said, "Well, we're getting married on February 18th." And he said, "You'll never forget that day." So that's the day Dale died.
Yeah.
And so luckily my wife was kind enough to let me scoot out and come talk with you guys for a little bit
Happy
today.
anniversary.
Thank you.
yeah,
Happy
happy
anniversary.
Appreciate it.
anniversary.
So this day for me gets a little bit of mixed emotions.
Yeah,
Right.
of course.
Kind of a bittersweet.
Right. Well, that's the same with my wedding day. I mean, we got married on June 17th, and that's the same day my papa passed away.
Yeah.
And you know, and Tracy, when we decided that was a day that would be good, we got engaged on that day. We had our first date on that day. We got engaged on that date, and then we got married on that date. I said, well, you know, at least it kind of helps me with that date, you know, because it's such a, in 2010 up till that point, I mean, that was a bad memory. And, you know, it's kind of like this. You were able to kind of balance it out a little bit.
Kind of like what you were mentioning about, you know, 9/11 kind of washing that away a little bit.
A little bit.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And talking about growing up in Kannapolis, and you know, we all know about the Kannapolis Lake over there that surrounds the golf course and what kind of fish is in that lake. And we all know about some guys that used to fish over there. There's only 3 or 4 guys that legally could fish over there. Do you know who they were?
Well, I know Dale was one of
Dale
them.
was one of them.
Neil Bonnet was
Neil
another
Bonnet
one.
was another one.
That's correct.
And Davey Allison was one of them.
Yeah, Davey Ellis. That's right. I forgot about that.
And then, of course, there were some local guys that would sneak off over there and go fishing. But
And David Murdoch could too.
yeah, oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
Remember Tiny?
I do.
Yeah, Tiny Weaver.
Well, on
He could not catch it.
Yeah,
a little bit more of a fun story, and you've told the story before, and I want to hear the story about how you put Dale in with Sundrop. Because
Well,
wasn't there a story along with Derek Cope involved?
Yes. I knew we was doing a Let's Talk Racing show. It was back in the days of Vision Cable. And we was doing a live call-in show, Let's Talk Racing. And I knew the guy that drove the hauler for Derek Cope. And I asked Derek would he come be my guest in Let's Talk Racing. So he said yeah, he would. We did it right at the studio on Kansas Street. And he come up and did it. And I was handling the local Sundrop bottling company here in Concord. I was handling their local account. And they wanted to make a commercial, and they wanted to use a race car driver. So I said, I know Derek Cope. So I went to Derek. I said, Derek, would you do a Sundrop commercial for me? He said, yeah. I said, what would you charge? And he said, $500. I said, okay, I'll see if I can get that in the budget. So I went back to John King and John King's mother. Yeah, and
Margaret.
Margaret. Yeah,
Yep.
thank you.
Yep.
And they said, yeah, we'll do that. So went out to his shop, and it was the number 10 car, the Carolina car. And I remember very well. I don't remember it word for word, but he said, two great things have happened to me since moving to the Carolinas. One was winning the Daytona 500. Remember the year he beat?
Oh, yeah.
Dan?
Oh yeah, how could we forget?
very bad.
One was winning the Daytona 500, and one was being introduced to Sundrop. He held up a Sundrop bottle, and it was a well done commercial. It wasn't professional. It was a good commercial. And boy, when Dale seen that, and Dale got a hold of that, he come to me and said, "Who did that?" I said, "I did." He said, "That's going to end." That's what he meant. He said.
So it ended.
It did. It didn't take
It
long.
ended.
Now that's the rest of the story.
Anyway, I think Derek Cope got his feelings hurt, but he got over it. And then Dale come to me. It was a couple of years after that. He said, "You doing the racing at Concord? You televised it?" Yeah. Can you help Junior get a sponsor? I said, "Yeah, I'll try." He wants to run some Concord. He wants to run Metrolina. He wants to run Myrtle Beach.
Myrtle Beach, yeah.
And I said, yeah, tell him to come see me. Well, I just so happened to be selling, ESPN was covering NASCAR racing, and TNN was covering NASCAR racing. That was two networks I was selling commercial time for. And I had an office at the Charlotte Motor Speedway in the Smith Tower. I died and gone to heaven.
Executive.
But he said, what do we need to do? I said, just tell Junior to come see me. And Junior was 15, 16 years old. He come walk in my office one day. He said, Dad told me to come see you. You help me get a commercial. And he was pimply faced. He was rough. And I said, okay, I need a resume. The next day he come back, do me a favor. There's a frame thing sitting right there. The next day, Junior come walking in with a piece of notebook paper that he had handwritten. He handed me this. He says, "Is this what you need?" I said, "Yeah, this is what I need." Where do I need to hold this up so you can see it?
That'll be fine, right
That'd
there.
be good right there.
So Dale Jr. handed me this. I said, "Oh my resume." Handwritten resume from Dale Jr. I said, "Oh my God, that
It's
ain't gonna
amazing.
work."
And it's got some notes down there on the bottom, phone numbers and stuff.
Yeah, that's Jerry Cook's telephone number. So let's not let that be shown. Anyway, Dale Jr. handed me that. And Dale Sr. called me and told me the rules. He said, "Here's what you can't do. You can't make any promises that I will show up." This is Dale Sr. talking. "I won't make an appearance. I won't show up. I won't be a part of this. This is between you and Dale Jr. and Gary Hargett." Gary Hargett at the time was his crew chief. I said, "Okay, cool. Let me see what I can do."
Wow.
And just so happened, I got Sundrop to sponsor Dale Jr. And
The rest is history.
yeah,
They're still there.
they become a big sponsor. But it was,
Awesome.
I'm going to give this. I don't even know if Junior knows I still got this or not. But when I left that job, I was cleaning out that old desk. run across this. I don't know why I saved it. I'm glad I did.
I'm glad you did.
That's amazing.
But
That's one of your
That is
top
amazing.
5 there, but
That's cool.
It's a nice piece.
yes, it is.
It's a museum piece. At one time, I thought about seeing if Rick Hendrick was interested in it.
It's one of one.
Yeah.
It is.
True.
It is. But I think Junior would probably appreciate it more than anybody.
Yeah.
Sure.
Where he started.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Well, let's go around the table. David, we'll start with you.
Okay.
And just kind of give them your feelings moving forward about this day. Obviously, it's 25 years. You know what Dale meant to you, I guess, is a good way of putting this, and just kind of summarize this great conversation we've had, and just kind of put your feelings out there, what Dale meant to you and your life.
Yeah. You know, so a little bit different than a couple of you. I was a little more removed from the, I don't know if you'd say inner circle of actually being involved with stuff. I became a Dale fan, partially, you know, obviously being from Kannapolis, but my grandfather also pulled for Bill Elliott, so had to go against Pawpaw. But I feel like it's always great to reminisce and to think back and reflect on how we felt in that time. I think that's one way that we can kind of heal and move on from stuff like that. I feel like it's also great, you know, Ryan, you talked earlier about the safety things that came from it. And so while we had this horrific incident that, you know, affected, you know, the country and, you know, our city more intensely, I would say, finding the bright spot is like, we haven't had another death since then.
Right.
And as much as we hate to see him go, getting to sit around and talk about him, you know, he's still here.
Yeah.
You know, it's like he's sitting in the car back here. Exactly. So I think as long as there's a few people that are together and talk about him and remember, he's always here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
I miss him. I miss him every Sunday, especially. I miss him when the race is on. I miss pulling. I miss the black car. I miss the number 3 car. But I do watch NASCAR. I do watch racing. There's a lot of things that I know Dale would have changed. I know there's a lot of things Dale wouldn't stand for. You brought up the safety factor. You know, there's a added piece of roll bar in the cars today called the Earnhardt bar. A lot of safety stuff. I think the safe barrier wall was developed mainly because of Earnhardt. I know the Hans development was a lot to do with Earnhardt. Would he have worn it today? Probably not.
No.
The open face helmet.
No.
That was his
him.
specialty.
That was his
He
thing.
said he could see the air, and I think that I don't believe he could see the air, but I certainly think that helped him.
I think he felt it on his mustache.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's why I got mad at Steve for trimming it too short.
Yeah. But racing has changed. Am I still a fan? Absolutely. Do I go uptown and look at the statue? I do not. Do I dwell on it? I try not to. The memories are great. I don't like seeing the wreck over and over and over and over, but I do like seeing the specials. I do like seeing the number 3 salute. I do like seeing the flags in the infield. He was a special friend. I know some things. He bought handicapped people vans. He done things that people don't know.
And he didn't want them to
He
know.
didn't want them to know. I know he paid the parking lot of a local church and told the pastor of the church, if you tell anybody, I'll bring my bulldozer out there and plow it up. And that was Dale.
And he
would
would
have
have.
done that. And I might be telling this wrong, but I think he put down AstroTurf at the Mooresville High School where Junior went to school.
How about that?
Paid for it. He's like you said. He out of his pocket. He widened Highway 3 there in front of the garage. He did a lot that the people don't know, and there's a lot of local guys that we all know that we all grew up rough. We all grew up. Some of them worked in the mill, some of them didn't, but Dale give them chances. Dale give them jobs, and Dale would furnish a bus over at the infield at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and when they got through doing their jobs, they would party. And what you all guys know, and a lot of people in this little town of ours don't know this, Woody Chabas, our police chief, our former police chief, was Dale's jackman for years.
That's right.
Yep.
And a lot of people do not know that.
That's
but,
right.
Yeah.
It was a whole gang called it the Cottle Creek Gang.
Yep.
And Dale took them all under his wing and looked after them.
Wow.
And you know, that's a dying breed. And
It is.
We are a dying breed. Notwithstanding David and Ryan, you know, being a lot younger. But, you know, racing to me is not the same since then. I mean, it's fairly moved up in the years. But what Kannapolis did for the statute and what it brings to downtown, that it's just in a little quiet corner, just a little piece of peace and quiet there, that people come every day 25 years later. And there's only a small group of us in Kannapolis that know what Dale, you know, it's like we get away from all of those, the new people coming into town. And they just don't understand where the memories are in the history that we're trying to show here on this show. And it's just, it is still, to this day, there are people arriving daily downtown, and Eric, the Kannapolis ambassador, does a great job in documenting it and help spreading the word.
Yeah, and let me add to that. I mean, it's all kind of people from probably every state in the nation, and there's rich and famous people. You'd be surprised the people that show up down there that we never know about. Some famous people come through our town just to walk up and see the memorial for Dale Earnhardt, and we never know it.
No.
And
But
just stand there
sometimes
and
you'll see
quiet
it.
and just sit over on the brick wall.
But
and
sometimes you might see a piece on
reminisce.
television, and
Right, and there they are.
were here.
Right. Yeah, I've seen a lot of that stuff, and random, you know, famous people post something about that statue, or and you know they were there, and there's a picture of them standing beside it. Yeah, I guess it's my turn next. I mean, I put a thing on Facebook the other day about how, you know, he was my hero, and I'm not sure what that was.
That ain't good. I think we lost the camera.
Maybe.
Dave, I think
Dave.
you're out of it.
You'll still get it on the other one.
Not so good anymore.
It's a good slide.
Slide the chair over.
Guess you can go on your anniversary date.
I think we got
meal.
6 other cameras.
That's right.
You know, I put a thing on Facebook the other day about my first day of first grade, and I had on, it was a white version of the same shirt. And, you know, that was a shirt I wore to school, first day in elementary school. He was my hero. I mean, again, the family connection, the family helping family thing. I mean, that was kind of born in me from day one. That, you know, Dale was the only person that I would even consider pulling for. There was no other driver. And, you know, if
It wasn't a question.
it was no question. It was it's like second nature. And so, you know, of course, you try to move on from things, but this is one of those things that's kind of like losing my dad. I'll never be able to move on from it. I mean, I think about him every day. I think about Dale every day. I mean, it's one of those things that it's just a part of who we are. If you love somebody, or, you know, he was a part of your kind of life and kind of who you are as a person, and for what Dale meant as just a guy. You know, I mean, he wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty, and that's who I am as a person too. I mean, I grew up, you know, doing everything and working on everything because that's just what we do as Kannapolis people. And so it's been a tough 25 years, especially on this day. You think about it more than you do on most other days. But you know, we as you said earlier, we have to memorialize it and keep the memory alive. Keep, just like what we're doing with the Mill People shows and the things we talk about on our normal podcasts. Trying to record these memories and document it, because one of these days
Gone.
it's gone.
True.
In the blink of an eye.
And you guys do a good job, and I appreciate what you do.
Yeah.
There's so much here. I mean, it's so much to talk about.
And, you know, for me, you know, I grew up obviously here in town and spent a lot of time at my grandmother's house growing up. One of the most dearest persons to my life. And, my mother grew up, all the family grew up at 403 Oak Circle, and you know, our next door neighbor was David Oliver, and you know, right in the thick of the whole Earnhardt tree right there. So from my earliest days in life, you know, I remember Dale Earnhardt. I mean, probably before I knew even what NASCAR was, I had heard the name Dale Earnhardt. You know, my grandma, you know, watching what little bit of races you could get back around 80, 81. It wasn't a lot, but you know, you'd see him on TV. So, you know, I've known Dale Earnhardt, or who he is, and just everything about him most of my life. And, you know, it's all I ever cared about was NASCAR and, you know, some football and high school football, obviously. But, you know, it was always Dale Earnhardt. Then you go in the Army, and, you know, I was part of some different teams in the Army, and a lot of times we'd have different nicknames or whatever. And everybody in the Army would call me Dale because, you know, everybody in the Army knew I was from Kannapolis and knew that it was like nothing but Earnhart.
Dale
like,
over
my
there.
pickup truck had Earnhardt tags and a 3 sticker on the back, so it was like all I've ever known. But yeah, when that fateful day happened on February 18th, you know, it was just crushing, and the amount of tears a grown man would cry, and just the sick feeling. Like I've had bad breakups from girlfriends. I've never felt physically ill.
I've been through some of those.
I know. You have. Ron's been right there the whole time. Yeah, thank God he married me. But you know, my whole life, I mean, it was a tragedy. And like Ryan, I think about him every day. You know, Ryan, especially, you know, living here next door and just doing so many things together, we'd always be out doing something, and it'd be like, what would Dale do, or how would Dale do it, or something to that effect. And a lot of what we do and why we created the K-Town Connection was to honor Dale. And you know, I lived downtown for a couple years, and you know, every day walking to work or going to the gym in the morning, I'd sit by the statue and walk by it. I can't tell you how many hundreds of pictures of that statue I've got in my phone, because you know, it's just an everyday thing. So you know, he's been a part of my life. Even, you know, and I'm now at that stage because I'm a little older, but I'm also young, that I've had Dale in my life as long as he's been out, you know, turning 50. So, you know, I was 25 when he died, and here I am 25 years later. So, you know, it's going to start, this day moving forward is going to start a new clock in my life, that Dale's been gone longer than he was with me. And that's a tough thing to think about. Yeah. But, you know, Dale, honoring Dale's legacy. You know, I'm thankful that we got Ryan here, and our dear friend Joe Fairnell. I wanna talk about him because, you know, he can be fanatical in his love for Earnhardt, and he's got every item that exists, and some that are one of one, and some incredible things. But his love for Dale, and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but it is so true and honorable, and now he just wants to honor Dale and honor Dale's legacy, and the fact that he wants to be here in this town around these people, and everything he does every day just to honor him. And like Joe and like Ryan, you know, we just want to do what we can to make sure nobody forgets our hero.
Right.
Well said.
Yeah. And you know, and people like Wessa Brooke Miller.
Yeah.
You know, she was very instrumental in Dale's career, giving him the lucky penny Daytona 500, and you know, to hear her story, how Dale impacted her and her family. Again, you know, he bought them a van, had it delivered to Kentucky, couple vans, and you know, so they would have a way to get around because she's in a wheelchair and all this sort of thing. I mean, that's huge, and you know, and he wanted to take care of her and be a part of her life, and so that's the cool thing that we have gotten to see through the years, is all these people that he touched their lives either directly or indirectly, depending on where you were in relation to him. And I mean, that's people, that's your, when you pass away, that's the end of the day, what really matters the most, like how you impacted your community, what's your legacy. And you know, you don't just say, well, he, you know,
he won a lot of races.
I mean, there's a lot more to it than he won a lot of races.
A whole lot more.
Yeah,
you know.